All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. Welcome everyone to today's Sixers game recap. I should say good morning to all waking up to the Philadelphia 76ers winning yet again as they absolutely throttled the Detroit Pistons in a back-to-back, a home and away, this time away and home, 147 to 116. And let's put it blankly. We saw this team a couple days ago when we all know the Detroit Pistons are not a good basketball team, but that doesn't mean that you don't take care of business from what's in front of you. And I always hear fans criticizing the Philadelphia 76ers for not being able to take advantage of teams like this throughout the season. Well, they did do it twice against the Detroit Pistons. And I believe they have swept the season series against the Pistons as well. I'll have to double check there. But look, I thought overall this performance was great in the fact that, yeah, I know we killed the Detroit Pistons, who are really bad, but they played confident. They looked really comfortable out there through four quarters. And, there's always one thing that really stuck to me about Doc Rivers and what he said a couple years ago, especially during the pandemic year. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear about Doc Rivers cliches, but it is very, very true. When you have to play a team back to back, it can be very, very difficult. Why do you think playoffs are so intense and are so hard? Obviously, the stakes at hand are raises up the intensity, but you have to play a team for a best of five or a best of seven series. So that really makes it difficult because you may have like one game plan on one day, and then the following day, following game, you try to use that same game plan. It just doesn't work, and that's always a difficulty. Now, you had that here against the Pistons, and now the Pistons are a bad team, but what you noticed was this performance was much better than what you saw on Sunday. Now, obviously, the main culprit to that being is that Joel Embiid returned to the lineup for the first time in three games. And of course, the one thing you did notice, and I think that our boy Austin Krell put the tweet out there, the photo out there. My boy Joel Embiid's out there rocking braids. He's coming back. He's rocking a new hairdo. I think this is the first time since 2017 or 2018 that we have seen Joel Embiid in the braids, and I absolutely love it. Give me my James Harden and my Joel Embiid absolutely destroying all these NBA teams in the braids. Absolutely loved it. But Joel Embiid said something before the game. I'm sorry, after the game about the game plan was very simple and everyone was on the same page. We're going to go out there, we're going to play hard, we're going to play to win, and we're only going to play three quarters. I thought that was very funny because that's actually what they did. They played hard, they played tough, they put the Pistons away, and by the fourth quarter, no starters was out. I think Joel left a couple minutes before the end of the third, at the end of the third quarter. I think it was like near the halfway mark of the third quarter, but he had a plan. This whole team had a plan, and they set out and they fulfilled it. And I think that is another reason to be happy. But Joel again, super efficient, 36 points, 11 boards here tonight with two blocks to add on top of it, in a total of 24 minutes. So coming back from injury, rocking new hairdo, looking good. You don't have to strain Joel Embiid, which is huge, and you also, you got efficient numbers from him. 24 minutes, 36 points, 11 boards. You're absolutely gonna love that. Obviously, a big part of that has to do that Joel Embiid has to go up. He had to go up against his former teammate Nerlens Noel, who we know very well here in Philadelphia. He got the start here tonight over Isaiah Stewart, who had a little bit. I think it was a foot contusion, if I'm not mistaken. So he had to sit. Nerlens allowed to start. Poor Nerlens. It's so funny how Nerlens Noel all these years still hasn't developed his game any further. He's still a rim runner. That's really what he is. Um, and so he just hasn't changed. His body hasn't changed. His game hasn't changed. He's still just shooting a couple feet away from the basket, and it's crazy that he still has a job in the NBA. But he still got his athletic ability. I think he still got great body control as well, which really he demonstrated here tonight too in the start. In place of Isaiah Stewart, but poor Nerlens still has to go up against Joel. He did give some praise and some kudos to Joel Embiid, letting people know that he should be higher in the MVP, and he's surprised he hasn't won an MVP. And so you definitely love. And listen, I'll always love Nerlens. I still have his jersey, and I fully intended wearing the Nerlens Noel jersey here for this recap. Last night time got a little bit out of hand. Had to wake up bright and early here this morning, but hey, Nerlens Noel, you always got my love, and I remember those processes. It was the Nerlens Noel trade that started all this, guys, and that's why we're here now. James Harden, back-to-back triple-doubles. I know, again, it's the Detroit Pistons, but my dude is out here balling, and I think what is best about what the Sixers are doing Guys are finding roles, guys are getting comfortable in those roles, and guys are succeeding in that. And whereas James Harden, obviously we do want him to score, and I think, as long as he averages around 20, 25 points, I think that we should be content. But it's doing everything else, getting people involved, getting everyone up, leading by example. That's how James does it. But getting these triple doubles, that just tells you a lot because not only is he providing offense with his assists and of course his scoring, but defensively getting those boards, and he's always been very, very, very open to doing that, and so that's been big here for the Sixers. He finished with 16 points, 15 assists, 11 boards for our James Harden, adding yet again another triple double. Get this, tonight's the excuse me, Tuesday night triple double. He got the triple double 26 minutes into the game. If that's not efficient, I don't know what is. So that is James Harden with Joel Hans and B. And of course, Tyrese Maxey, we're obviously going to keep monitoring him as he keeps returning back from his injury. Looked more comfortable here tonight. The floater game was something. I think he had knocked down 3 floaters. That was something, and that's what you want to see him do: knock down those easy shots, knock down the things that makes him feel comfortable. The 3 will come, and all I can really say is keep chucking up those threes, Tyrese. Keep getting that right, because when they do fall, it will fall and it will rain fall, ladies and gentlemen. But 1 for 4 here tonight from 3-point line. That's the only thing I'm going to keep an eye out for. Is Tyrese Maxey and how that 3 goes, because obviously before his injury he was shooting at a high clip, that 3-point shot. So we definitely want to have that back, especially from our guards backcourt here. And it does raise an interesting point here. Obviously, today you didn't really need to get exploited because Detroit doesn't have a backcourt that can do it. But you know there is a topic and there's a debate of what the Sixers should do in the backcourt. Whether Tyrese Maxey should be starting every game, which he didn't do in this game. The Sixers decided this because they were finally healthy. They decided to start their usual starting 5. This is the 7th time you've seen Joel at the 1, PJ Tucker at the 4, Toby at the 3, Tyrese at the 2, and James running the point. And obviously, they it's a good lineup, and obviously they can put up points, but it still feels a little bit wonky for me. Obviously, the main problem for me is that I just feel Tobias in today's day and age is better suited at the 4, and he hasn't been a problem there. And I feel like PJ Tucker, especially like right now, I would want him coming off of my bench, because that's what you want coming off your bench. A guy with energy just can provide you something. In this case, he provides you defense. And then of course the backcourt. Maxey and Harden obviously are really good players, really can score the bucket, and we do know that. My problem is defense, and that is a big thing. And I know a lot of you guys love Tyrese Maxey. You guys want to see Tyrese Maxey day in and day out, but it is a defensive liability. Both Harden and Maxey are that. And so when you have to go up against good backcourts, like I'm just putting out an example, like just Clay and Steph, just for an example, you have a weakness there. Um, I've mentioned it before. I prefer starting D'Anthony Melton. I know offensively he can be a liability too, because if he's not on, he really doesn't give you much of anything else. And so, but to me, he's a much better defensive guard than Tyrese Maxey is, and he can provide you 20 points at times for that. And it also doesn't mean that Tyrese Maxey doesn't play majority of the minutes there. It's just the way you kind of start things off and kind of the way you set tones, especially in the playoffs. We all know how important that is. So it's definitely something we're also going to keep monitoring. But I do feel like it wouldn't hurt to kind of have a different look as well, especially when you need more of a defensive-minded team, or defensive-minded mindset. You need to have that guard next to James Harden, because you're not sitting James Harden, and maybe the Anthony Melton can be that. You can also try to use Matisse Thybulle. We've already talked about it before. Seeing Matisse Thybulle get some more minutes is something that I do want to see, especially with his wing depth and wing just being really good out there. Obviously, we could use some more three shooting from Matisse Thybulle, but in general, he definitely can help with defending the perimeter, and that's something that we need to continue looking at. But backups were in by the fourth quarter here tonight. Really didn't need to look too much at them. Montrezl Harrell had 8 points here again tonight, continuing to provide as a backup center, and he's making his case that Daryl Morey doesn't need to go out there and trade for a backup center. And look, if that's the case, that's awesome, because you guys know me, because I would rather have a depth at the wing, maybe a starting wing coming here. And I do realize if we want a starting wing, look, wing players everybody's looking for. They're not as easy to find. And so if you have them, teams do typically covet them, and so it would be hard. So if one move can be made by the deadline, I still say it is finding that wing player. Keeping Toby at the 4 and having PJ coming off the bench, I think that's just beautiful, guys. And that does supplement a little bit of the fact that your backcourt, if you do decide to start Maxey Harden day in and game out, it does mean that it will help defensively with that as well. And look, again, this is a bad Pistons team, and I do know that. And they are obviously making their case to go winless for Wanyama, right? But there are some NBA players. There are some good young players. I love Jaden Ivey. I really do, and I thought that was the right pick at the number five overall pick this past draft. And he's again. We talked about wing players. He is that type of wing player, but he can be a generational type of scorer. And you add that with Cade Cunningham. You had, well, obviously he's not playing right now, but we all know what he can provide. You also have Sadiq Bey, who I believe he added 17 points alongside Jaden Ivey, who also had 17 points. So there are some fun pieces. There are some good pieces. You have Alec Burke coming off the bench, who, in my opinion, is a NBA bench player. I think he's really good at that. I'd obviously love him here in Philly. That could be something that the Sixers look at as well. Another ball handling guard who plays better defense, because obviously right now in your backcourt, D'Anthony Melton's really the only guy that you can really trust defensively. You're not trusting Shake, Maxey, or Harden defensively. So that is something the Sixers could be looking at as well. But again, happy that the Sixers got the job done. Back-to-back wins. It is against the Detroit Pistons, and obviously Friday night it was a bad loss against Chicago in the way they lost. You allow Chicago to just look like the Golden State Warriors, the Splash Brothers. Obviously that sucks, but that's just the NBA, and it's the ebb and flows. And now Sixers fans, I don't really hear them. Everyone in Philadelphia is worried about the Eagles' playoff run, even though we have a whole bye week here, and everyone is still freaking out and worried. And I just want to say this about the Sixers. I'm not here to talk about the Birds, but here about the Sixers is that, again, it's a long season. And I think a win like last night really helps the mindset of this team, builds the confidence up. And I think that, I still have criticisms and I have questions about Doc Rivers coaching this team into the playoffs, but this team has James Harden, Joel Embiid, and you have players like Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker. This is a really good basketball team. And you look at the East, it's pretty tight, yes. But you also have players who need to prove themselves. And I think that the key thing here, I look at the way, like the Warriors won last year. Different guys being called upon, stepping up big for the team. I look at Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris. Because I feel like James and Joel are going to get the job done in the playoffs. But there are going to be nights where you need to rely on someone else. And that's how teams survive. Tyrese and Toby can be those guys. Tonight Tobias Harris scored the first 7 points, and he still had a pretty good game. You need Tyrese and Tobias to take over in certain moments. That's what's going to need to happen in the playoffs. So let's keep building up the confidence. Keep building up the confidence of this team. Games like last night builds confidence, and obviously you need a test, right? You need to play one of those good teams. You need to play the Celtics, the Nets. Well, the Nets with KD, I should say, the Bucks again, or even the Cavs again. We do need to do that, but you're going to take these wins, patent up the record. Obviously I don't necessarily care for the number one seed, but I would like to have some type of home court advantage, and so it's something that they need to continue fighting for. And obviously we still got a lot of basketball left to be played. But next up, they're back at it tomorrow night, Thursday night, back at home against the Thunder, who they did kill a couple weeks ago. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I doubt he's going to have another bad game. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how the Sixers respond to a team who's going to want a little bit of payback, but obviously lacking some talent against the Sixers. But again, guys, the Sixers throttle the Detroit Pistons 147-116. We're back at it again Thursday against the Thunder. Thank you so much for watching this quick one, guys. Hopefully we're back at it again tonight against the Flyers as they take on the Capitals at home. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, I'm Parcero Philly, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.